My name is Paige Turner, and at 28 years old, I never expected to bring a multi-million-dollar deal to its knees. After 6 years of coding day and night at TechVision, pouring my soul into algorithms that changed the industry, I accidentally overheard my CEO Marcus laughing about me. The betrayal cut deep, but I said nothing. The next morning, as the $563 million contract sat ready for signatures, everything changed with one simple request. I still remember that tense moment vividly. Before I tell you what happened next, hit like and subscribe if your boss has ever taken credit for your work, and comment where you're watching from. My story might just inspire you to stand up for yourself too. Breaking into tech as a woman wasn't easy. The journey began with countless all-nighters during my computer science degree, fighting stereotypes at every turn. When I graduated summa cum laude from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, I had big dreams and bigger ambitions. Several tech giants extended offers, but TechVision caught my eye. They were smaller but innovative, promising cutting-edge work and genuine recognition for contributors regardless of gender or background. My first day at TechVision remains crystal clear in my memory. The office buzzed with energy windows stretching from floor to ceiling, offering panoramic views of San Francisco. Developers huddled around whiteboards covered in complex diagrams, genuine excitement in their conversations. The receptionist, a friendly woman named Diana, greeted me with a warm smile. "Paige Turner, welcome to TechVision. Marcus is excited to meet you." Marcus Reed, the CEO and founder, had a reputation as a technical genius. Before launching TechVision, he had developed security protocols that major banks worldwide still used. Meeting him was like meeting a rock star in my world. When Marcus strode into the lobby to greet me personally, I was starstruck. He stood 6 feet tall with salt and pepper hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to analyze everything. "Paige, finally. Your thesis on quantum-resistant encryption algorithms was brilliant. We need minds like yours here." His handshake was firm, his smile genuine. That same afternoon, Marcus personally assigned me my first project. "We need a completely new approach to data security," he explained, spreading diagrams across the conference table. "Current encryption methods won't survive quantum computing advancements. I think your research points toward a solution." The challenge thrilled me. This wasn't just some maintenance task or minor feature development. Marcus was giving me a chance to revolutionize data security. I dove into the work immediately, often staying long after the office emptied. Many nights I slept on the office couch, waking to continue coding where I left off. During those early months, I became friends with Rachel Chen, the technical team lead. 10 years my senior with an impressive resume, Rachel became my mentor. She brought me coffee during late-night coding sessions and offered guidance when I hit roadblocks. "You have raw talent," she told me one night, as we debugged a particularly tricky encryption sequence. "But more importantly, you have persistence. That combination is rare." 3 months into the project, my algorithm showed promising results. In a test environment, it processed sensitive data 10 times faster than industry standards, while maintaining better security metrics. When I presented these findings to Marcus, his eyes widened. "This is exactly what we need," he said, slapping the conference table excitedly. "Implement this for Next-Gen Financial. They lose millions annually to security breaches." Next-Gen Financial became our first test case. Their chief information officer initially seemed skeptical during our presentation. Marcus introduced me as the brilliant mind behind our new security protocol, giving me the floor to explain the technical aspects. When I finished, the room fell silent. "If this works as presented," the CIO finally said, "you'll save us around $8 million annually in security infrastructure costs alone." It worked even better than projected. Within 6 months, NextGen reported 0 breaches and a 30% reduction in processing time. Marcus called a company-wide meeting to celebrate. "Paige Turner has developed something revolutionary," he announced, his arm around my shoulders. "This algorithm will become the foundation of everything we build moving forward." The room erupted in applause. Tears welled in my eyes as I looked around at my colleagues. For the first time in my career, I felt truly valued, not despite being a woman in tech, but simply for my contributions. The success translated into tangible recognition. Marcus promoted me to senior security architect with a 40% salary increase. My tiny studio apartment became a spacious one-bedroom with a view of the bay. For the first time since graduating with student loans, I could breathe financially. My parents, who had worried about my career choice, called to congratulate me after seeing TechVision featured in a technology magazine. The article mentioned the breakthrough security protocols developed by recent MIT graduate Paige Turner. "We always knew you were special," Mom said, her voice thick with emotion. "Your father has shown that article to everyone in town." Looking back, those first 2 years at TechVision were the happiest of my professional life. I believed I had found a company that valued merit above politics, a place where my gender didn't matter, only my code. Each morning I woke up excited to go to work, to push boundaries, to create something meaningful. Marcus continued to champion my work, introducing me to industry leaders at conferences and ensuring I received credit in press releases. "Remember my name," he once joked to a group of investors, "because someday soon everyone will know Paige Turner revolutionized data security." I trusted him completely. I believed TechVision was different from other companies where women watched male colleagues take credit for their ideas. I thought Marcus truly valued integrity and innovation above everything else. How wrong I was. The first cracks in my perfect professional world appeared gradually, like hairline fractures in glass. 2 years into my time at TechVision, subtle changes began to emerge in company dynamics. Marcus started missing technical review meetings, sending representatives instead. Initially, I dismissed this as normal CEO evolution, assuming he needed to focus on business growth rather than technical details. During a critical strategy meeting about our security roadmap, I presented an innovative approach to implement biometric verification within our encryption framework. The room filled with senior developers and product managers responded enthusiastically. Questions flowed, and several department heads expressed interest in incorporating the technology into their products. Marcus arrived 30 minutes late, scrolling through his phone as I concluded my presentation. When the vice president of product summarized my proposal for him, Marcus nodded absently. "Sounds interesting. Who came up with this?" "Paige just presented it," Rachel said, giving me an encouraging smile. "Right. Good. Let the team explore it." He quickly moved on to other agenda items without acknowledging me directly. That same week, TechVision announced a new executive hire. Michael Winters, former chief operating officer at a rival security firm, would join as executive vice president. Tall, with slicked-back hair and designer suits, Michael had a reputation for aggressive business tactics rather than technical expertise. During his introduction at the company all-hands meeting, he stood beside Marcus, like an eager shadow, nodding vigorously at everything the CEO said. Their friendship appeared immediate and intense. They began having lunch together, daily closed-door meetings filling their calendars. Whatever Michael suggested, Marcus approved. Whatever Marcus proposed, Michael praised effusively. 3 months after Michael joined, Marcus called me into his office for a private meeting. The space had changed since my early days at the company. Gone were the whiteboards covered in code and technical diagrams, replaced with expensive artwork and industry awards. "Paige, we have an opportunity to take TechVision to the next level," Marcus said, leaning forward across his massive desk. "We need a groundbreaking security platform, something that will change the entire industry." "That sounds exciting," I replied cautiously. "I want you to lead a small, specialized team. Complete secrecy. You'll work in the auxiliary lab space away from the main development floor." His eyes gleamed with intensity. This could be revolutionary. The project sounded fascinating, creating a unified security platform that could protect data across multiple environments simultaneously, from cloud to edge devices, using adaptive algorithms that evolved in response to threats. My team consisted of 2 brilliant developers: Andrew Park, a database expert with 5 years at TechVision, and Jessica Rodriguez, a recent Stanford graduate with exceptional talent in machine learning algorithms. We were allocated a separate laboratory space on the building's lower level away from the main engineering floors. The technical challenges proved immense. Existing security frameworks couldn't handle the comprehensive approach we envisioned. Each environment required different protection strategies, and making them work together seamlessly seemed impossible at times. For 3 months, we struggled to overcome a fundamental bottleneck in the system. The encryption process worked beautifully, but required too much processing power to be practical in real-world applications. Andrew and Jessica tried countless approaches, while I reworked the core algorithm repeatedly. The breakthrough came unexpectedly at 3 in the morning, after I had been working for 20 straight hours. Exhausted and frustrated, I stepped away from my computer to make coffee. As the machine gurgled, a completely different approach crystallized in my mind. Instead of trying to process everything simultaneously, the algorithm could prioritize threats, contextually allocating resources dynamically based on risk assessment patterns. I rushed back to my keyboard, coding frantically as the solution unfolded. By sunrise, I had a working prototype that processed secured data 10 times faster than our previous best attempt. When Andrew and Jessica arrived that morning, I was still typing, surrounded by empty coffee cups. "You look terrible," Jessica said, dropping her backpack. "But I feel amazing," I replied, spinning my monitor toward them. "Watch this." They stared in disbelief as the test simulation ran, showing performance metrics that seemed impossible. "How did you?" Andrew began. "Adaptive resource allocation," I explained, pulling up the core algorithm. Instead of brute forcing everything, it thinks like a human security expert, focusing attention where needed most. We spent the next week refining and testing the solution, confirming its effectiveness across various scenarios. When it consistently outperformed every industry benchmark by orders of magnitude, I scheduled a meeting with Marcus to share our success. His reaction wasn't what I expected. He glanced at our presentation slides with minimal interest, occasionally checking his watch. "Looks good," he said when we finished. "Send the technical specs to Michael. We might present this at the quarterly board meeting." No questions about the breakthrough? No excitement about potential market impact? Just "looks good" before he ushered us out of his office. The following week, I discovered my name had been removed from the presenter list for the upcoming TechSphere conference, the industry's premier security event. When I had checked the schedule the previous month, I was slated to present our new security architecture. Now Marcus and Michael were listed instead. "There must be some mistake," I told Rachel during our weekly lunch. "I developed that architecture." Rachel shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "Politics," she muttered, glancing around to ensure no one overheard. "Be careful, Paige. Things are changing around here." "What do you mean?" "Just document everything. Keep records of your work emails, development logs. Trust me on this." Her warning left me unsettled, but I still couldn't believe Marcus would deliberately undermine me. He had always been my champion, recognizing and promoting my contributions. Surely this was just a miscommunication or an oversight due to his increasingly busy schedule. I tried to dismiss my concerns, focusing instead on refining our security platform. But a sense of unease had taken root, a quiet voice whispering that something wasn't right at TechVision anymore. 6 months into our secret project, TechVision began generating significant buzz in the technology sector. Major tech publications published speculative articles about our revolutionary security approach, though specific details remained tightly guarded. Competitors started poaching attempts, offering our engineers substantial salary increases to jump ship. One morning, while scanning industry news, I stumbled across an interview with Marcus in TechWire magazine. The headline read, "TechVision CEO revolutionizes data security with breakthrough algorithm." My coffee mug froze halfway to my lips as I read his quotes. The adaptive allocation concept came to me while considering how human security experts prioritize threats, Marcus explained in the interview. By mimicking that decision-making process algorithmically, we've created something that will fundamentally change data security forever. My stomach twisted into knots. Those were almost exactly the words I had used when explaining my breakthrough to him. The article continued, describing Marcus as the chief architect of the new security framework. My name appeared nowhere in the piece. That afternoon I sought out Rachel in her office, showing her the article with shaking hands. "This is my work," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "He's taking complete credit for my algorithm." Rachel sighed, leaning back in her chair. "I was afraid of this. It's happening more frequently around here. Did you document your development process, like I suggested?" "Yes, I have everything. Code repositories, commit logs, research notes. Even my middle-of-the-night breakthrough is timestamped in the development server." "Good. You might need those." Rachel lowered her voice. "Look, Paige, you need to protect yourself. Marcus has been changing since Michael arrived. Several senior engineers have left quietly after their work was repurposed." "What should I do? Confront him?" She shook her head quickly. "Not yet. That could backfire. Keep gathering evidence. Make sure your contribution is undeniable." Following Rachel's advice, I visited Human Resources the next day, ostensibly to update my performance records. Cynthia, the HR director, had always been friendly and approachable. "I wanted to clarify my role in the security platform project for my annual review," I explained casually. "Could you confirm I'm still listed as lead architect?" Cynthia's smile faltered slightly. "Let me check our records." She turned to her computer, clicking through several screens. The project leadership structure shows Marcus as principal architect with Michael as project manager. "You're listed as a senior developer." "That's incorrect," I said, keeping my voice calm despite my racing heart. "I conceptualized and developed the core algorithm. Andrew and Jessica can verify that." "I see." Her expression remained carefully neutral. "You should discuss role clarifications with your direct supervisor. I can only document what comes through official channels." Later that week, during an executive briefing I wasn't invited to but attended, as Jessica's technical support, Michael announced TechVision would submit our security platform for the prestigious TechBlazer Award, the industry's highest honor for innovation. This could put us on the map internationally, Michael explained to the gathered executives. "The submission requires extensive technical documentation. Paige, since you're familiar with the technical aspects, please prepare the detailed specification documents for the submission." I nodded professionally while internally fuming at the implication that I was merely familiar with the technology I had created. Still, the assignment gave me an opportunity to document my role officially. For the next week, I worked tirelessly on the submission materials, creating comprehensive documentation that clearly outlined the development process breakthrough moments and my central role in creating the adaptive allocation algorithm. The technical documents spanned over 300 pages, including code snippets, performance metrics, and innovation methodology. When completed, I personally delivered the printed submission to Marcus, along with a digital backup. "Here's the TechBlazer submission documentation you requested," I said, placing the thick binder on his desk. "I've included detailed technical specifications and development history." Marcus barely glanced at the materials. "Thanks. Michael will review this before we submit." 2 weeks passed with no mention of the award submission. When I inquired with Michael's assistant about its status, she informed me it had been submitted the previous week after executive revisions. At the company's quarterly celebration, I found myself standing alone near the refreshment table, watching Marcus charming a group of potential investors across the room. He gestured enthusiastically as he spoke. "Our proprietary algorithm adapts in real time to threat patterns," I overheard him saying. "Think of it as having the world's best security expert constantly analyzing your data, but working at computer speeds." My description, my algorithm, my innovation, yet again presented as his creation. As I contemplated leaving early, a man in an impeccably tailored suit approached me. "You look like someone who actually understands technology in a room full of people pretending they do," he said with a wry smile, extending his hand. "Alan Blackwood, Stratosphere Ventures." Stratosphere was one of Silicon Valley's most prestigious venture capital firms, known for backing industry-changing technologies. "Paige Turner, Senior Security Architect," I replied, shaking his hand. "So you work on the adaptive security platform." I created it, I said before I could stop myself. Instead of dismissing my claim, Alan's eyes lit with interest. Fascinating. Marcus has been quite vague on the technical details. Would you mind explaining how the adaptive allocation actually works? In technical terms, not marketing speak. For the next 30 minutes, I explained the underlying principles of my algorithm, the breakthrough realization about mimicking human decision patterns, and the performance implications. Alan asked insightful technical questions that demonstrated genuine understanding. Remarkable, he said when I finished. Truly innovative thinking. I'm surprised Marcus didn't bring you over to explain this himself. Yes, well, executives are busy, I replied diplomatically. Alan handed me his card. I'd love to continue this conversation sometime. Stratosphere is always looking for brilliant technical minds. As he walked away, I noticed Michael glaring at me from across the room. He immediately went to Marcus, whispering something that made both men look in my direction with concerned expressions. That night, lying awake in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something important was slipping away from me. 6 years of dedication to tech vision, creating something genuinely revolutionary, only to watch others claim it as their own. Yet I still hesitated to take direct action, clinging to the hope that there might be an innocent explanation that the Marcus I had once admired still existed somewhere. Little did I know the worst betrayal was yet to come. The announcement came on a Tuesday morning. TechVision had won the TechBlazer Award for our security platform. The company-wide email sent from Marcus himself called it a testament to our innovative culture and visionary leadership. The carefully worded message thanked the entire technical team for their contributions, without naming specific individuals. The award ceremony was scheduled for the following evening at the Grand Hyatt during the annual Technology Leadership Summit. As one of the technical contributors, I received an invitation to attend, though not to participate in the award acceptance. I spent hours that night debating whether to go at all. Part of me wanted to skip the event entirely, to avoid watching Marcus accept recognition for my work. But another part, perhaps masochistic, needed to witness it firsthand. The Grand Hyatt ballroom glittered with technology industry elites when I arrived. Wearing the most professional black dress I owned, I slipped into a seat at the TechVision table, nodding politely to colleagues. Marcus and Michael sat at the front of our section, deep in conversation with executives from other companies. When TechVision was announced as the TechBlazer winner, thunderous applause filled the room. Marcus strode confidently to the stage, accepting the crystal trophy with a practiced, humble smile. Innovation is a team sport, he began, launching into an acceptance speech about vision and perseverance. For 10 minutes, he described the challenges of developing the award-winning technology, speaking as though he had personally written every line of code. Not once did he mention my name or acknowledge my role. When he thanked his team, it was in vague terms about the brilliant minds at TechVision who helped bring our vision to reality. The official photograph captured after the ceremony positioned Marcus center stage, holding the trophy with Michael beaming beside him. The development team, including myself, Andrew, and Jessica, stood awkwardly in the background, barely visible. During the celebratory reception that followed, I maintained a professional facade while seething internally. Several industry acquaintances congratulated me, having heard through the grapevine about my actual role in the project. Their knowing looks only intensified my discomfort. Marcus clinked a glass for attention as the reception wound down. I have another exciting announcement, he proclaimed to the gathered TechVision employees and industry guests. Tomorrow morning, we will finalize a $563 million investment from Stratosphere Ventures to scale our security platform globally. Excited murmurs rippled through the crowd. Alan Blackwood stepped forward, shaking Marcus's hand for the cameras. Stratosphere recognizes truly disruptive technology when we see it, Alan said. We believe this security platform will redefine industry standards worldwide. After the announcement, I tried approaching Marcus, determined to have a private conversation about recognition and credit. Marcus, do you have a minute? I'd like to discuss my role in the platform development before tomorrow's meeting. He glanced at his watch impatiently. Not now, Paige. We're celebrating a huge win. This isn't the time for personnel discussions. But the investment is based on technology I developed. Shouldn't I be part of tomorrow's signing? His expression hardened slightly. The investment is in TechVision, not in individual contributors. Michael has prepared all the necessary materials. Your presence isn't required. Before I could respond, he turned away to greet another executive, effectively dismissing me. That night, I returned to the office rather than going home. The main workspace was deserted, most employees still at the reception or celebrating elsewhere. I needed quiet time to think, to decide how to proceed. The award and impending investment made the situation more complex. If I challenged Marcus now, I might be labeled a troublemaker trying to disrupt a major business opportunity. As I sat at my desk reviewing my options, voices drifted from the main conference room down the hall. The door was slightly ajar, a sliver of light spilling into the darkened corridor. I recognized Marcus's distinctive baritone and Michael's eager responses. I shouldn't eavesdrop. I should announce my presence or leave. But something kept me rooted in place, listening. The Stratosphere deal is perfect timing, Michael was saying. With this funding and the TechBlazer validation, we can position for an acquisition within 18 months. Alan seems genuinely impressed with the technology, Marcus replied. Though he asked some surprisingly detailed technical questions today. Michael chuckled. He mentioned speaking with Paige at the company party. She apparently gave him quite the technical briefing. Did she? Now, Marcus's voice took on an edge. That could complicate things. I doubt it. The submission paperwork and patents list you as the principal architect. Her role is minimized in the official documentation. A pause, then Marcus laughed. She really thinks her code won us that award. 6 years and she's still in the dark. The casual cruelty of his words struck like a physical blow. I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. She'll never know her name isn't on the patent applications, Michael added. Legal handled it quietly. By the time the patent's published, the acquisition will be complete. What about the other developers, Andrew and Jessica? Junior enough to be easily managed. We've documented everything as a collaborative effort under your direction. Standard practice. Perfect. After tomorrow's signing, we can transition her to another project. Something less central. Their voices faded as they moved deeper into the conference room. But I'd heard enough. 6 years of dedication reduced to a disposable resource. 6 years of believing I'd found a company that valued merit above politics. I returned to my desk in a daze, my mind racing. The betrayal felt absolute, a complete repudiation of everything I thought TechVision stood for. Everything I believed Marcus valued. The admiration I'd held for him crumbled, replaced by a hollow ache. For over an hour I sat motionless, staring at my computer screen. Then methodically I began searching through the company's internal systems. As a senior developer, I had access to most technical documentation repositories. I needed to know exactly how far the deception extended. The TechBlazer submission materials had indeed been modified before submission. The executive summary now positioned Marcus as the visionary behind the adaptive allocation concept, with the technical team implementing his design. My detailed development history had been removed entirely. Internal patent applications told a similar story, listing Marcus as primary inventor and the development team as secondary contributors. Email threads between legal and executive leadership discussed appropriate inventorship allocation for maximum company benefit. The more I discovered, the colder my shock became, gradually transforming into something else entirely. 6 years of trust and loyalty had been exploited. 6 years of believing in meritocracy and recognition. As midnight approached, my path became clear. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about integrity in an industry already struggling with ethical challenges. It was about every developer who had ever watched their contributions appropriated by those with more power. It was about the truth. I would not go quietly. I would not accept erasure. Tomorrow's investment signing presented an opportunity, and I intended to seize it. The digital clock on my desk showed 2:17 in the morning when I finally formulated a plan. Rather than impulsively confronting Marcus with emotional accusations, I needed irrefutable evidence and strategic leverage. This would require methodical preparation and perfect timing. First, I needed to recover every scrap of evidence proving my role as the primary creator of the award-winning algorithm. I began by downloading my complete email history, focusing on communications about the project development. Conversations with Andrew and Jessica documented our progress, including my late-night breakthrough and their subsequent validation of my approach. Next, I extracted the version control history from our development repositories, showing my code commits with timestamps and change descriptions. The critical algorithm components all traced back to my account, with comments describing the adaptive allocation methodology. The repository logs clearly showed I had committed the breakthrough code at 4:12 in the morning on October 7th, exactly when I claimed the insight occurred. I located my original project notes and design documents, including hand-sketched diagrams from the night of the breakthrough. These were dated and had been scanned into our documentation system the following morning. Jessica had even commented on one diagram. "This is brilliant, Paige. Complete game changer." By 3:45, I had compiled a comprehensive digital portfolio documenting my contributions. But digital evidence could be dismissed as potentially manipulated. I needed human corroboration. I texted both Andrew and Jessica, asking to meet for coffee before work. Despite the early hour, both agreed, perhaps sensing the urgency in my message. At 6:30, we met at a small cafe 2 blocks from the office. Both looked concerned when they saw my expression. "What's going on?" Paige Andrew asked, as soon as we had privacy in a corner booth. "You look like you haven't slept." "I haven't." I confirmed, then described what I had overheard between Marcus and Michael. As I spoke, Jessica's expression shifted from shock to anger. "That's completely unethical," she said when I finished. "We all know you created the adaptive allocation algorithm. We were there." Andrew nodded vigorously. "The whole security platform stems from your breakthrough. Without that core innovation, we'd still be struggling with the performance bottleneck." Their validation provided immense relief. "Would you be willing to confirm this if necessary? It could get complicated." They exchanged glances before Andrew spoke. "Tech Vision is my first job out of college. I need this position." He hesitated, then straightened his shoulders. "But I won't be party to this kind of deception. If asked directly, I'll tell the truth." Jessica nodded. "Same here, though I'd prefer not to get fired tomorrow." "I'm hoping it won't come to that," I assured them. "I'm looking for a resolution that preserves the company and our positions while correcting the attribution issue." After they left for the office, I remained at the cafe planning my next move. The investment signing presented both opportunity and risk. Stratosphere was committing over $500 million based partly on the technology's innovation and legitimacy. If that legitimacy were questioned, the entire deal could collapse. I needed to understand exactly what Stratosphere knew and expected. Scrolling through my contacts, I found Alan Blackwood's business card and made a call. "Alan Blackwood," he answered crisply. "Mr. Blackwood, this is Paige Turner from Tech Vision. We spoke at the company event about the adaptive security architecture." "Ah, Paige. The actual technical mind behind the system, if I recall correctly." His tone suggested amusement rather than surprise. "You remember accurately," I said carefully. "I'm calling because I have concerns about today's investment signing." A pause. "What kind of concerns?" "Concerns about proper attribution and recognition of the technology's development." I kept my explanation vague, not wanting to explicitly accuse Marcus of fraud over the phone. "I see." Another pause. "This sounds like a conversation best had in person. Are you free now?" 30 minutes later, I sat across from Alan in Stratosphere's minimalist conference room, my evidence portfolio open on the table between us. He reviewed the materials silently occasionally, asking clarifying questions about technical specifications or timeline details. "This is quite comprehensive," he finally said, closing my laptop. "And troubling if accurate." "It's accurate. Andrew and Jessica will confirm my role if asked directly." Alan steepled his fingers. Stratosphere's investment decision was based largely on the innovative nature of this security approach. We conducted technical due diligence, of course, but relied on TechVision's representations regarding the development team and leadership. Were you told I was the primary architect? No, he said bluntly. Marcus presented himself as the conceptual innovator with you and others implementing his vision. This obviously conflicts with your evidence. I took a deep breath. I'm not trying to derail the investment. I believe in the technology and want to see it reach its potential. But I cannot allow my work to be appropriated. Alan studied me intently. What exactly are you seeking, Miss Turner? Proper attribution, recognition as the primary architect and innovator, and protection from retaliation. Not financial compensation. Many would demand equity or payment in this situation. I shook my head. I want to continue working on the technology I created. Money is secondary to recognition and the opportunity to further develop my innovation. This seemed to impress him. Alan leaned back, contemplating. Our investment paperwork requires signatures from key personnel listed in the TechBlazers submission. This was Marcus's suggestion, actually to ensure technical continuity. My heart raced. And who exactly is listed in that submission as the primary architect? Alan smiled slightly. That's what I intend to find out before today's signing. The original submission materials were referenced but not included in our due diligence package. After leaving Stratosphere's office, I made one final stop before heading to TechVision. The original TechBlazer submission had been prepared by me, but executive revised before submission. I needed to know exactly what those revisions entailed. The TechBlazer Award organization maintained an office downtown. Arriving just as they opened, I approached the receptionist with my most professional demeanor. Good morning. I'm Paige Turner from TechVision. We recently received your award for security innovation. I need to reference our original submission for an upcoming technical publication. Could I possibly review it? The receptionist checked my TechVision identification and made a phone call. Minutes later, I was escorted to a small room where a copy of our submission materials awaited. With trembling hands, I opened the binder. The executive summary had indeed been revised to position Marcus as the visionary leader and primary innovator. However, as I turned to the technical documentation section that I had prepared, I found something unexpected. In the detailed attribution section required by the TechBlazer Committee, my name still appeared as primary technical architect. Marcus was listed as executive sponsor and Michael as project manager. The technical details I had written remained largely intact. Marcus had changed the narrative in the executive summary, but hadn't altered the required attribution section, perhaps assuming no one would read that deeply into the technical documentation. This oversight provided the leverage I needed. As I left the TechBlazer offices, I reviewed the investment contract information Alan had shared. Stratosphere's agreement specifically required signatures from key personnel listed in the award submission, including the primary technical architect. For the first time since overhearing Marcus's betrayal, I felt a sense of calm certainty. The signing ceremony was scheduled for 10 that morning. I had just enough time to return home, shower, and change into my most professional outfit. When I arrived at TechVision at 9:45, the executive floor buzzed with preparation for the Stratosphere signing. I walked confidently past Michael's assistant, who looked surprised to see me. Paige, the signing is private. I don't think you're on the attendance list. I smiled pleasantly. Actually, I am. Could you please confirm with Alan Blackwood? He's expecting me. The moment of truth had arrived. 6 years of work had led to this moment, and I was finally ready to stand up for myself and my creation. TechVision's executive conference room had been transformed for the occasion. The normally practical space now featured elaborate floral arrangements, premium catering, and champagne on ice, awaiting the successful conclusion of the $563 million investment. Legal representatives from both companies were already present when I entered, arranging documents in leather-bound portfolios. Marcus stood near the window, deep in conversation with Michael, both wearing expensive new suits that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Neither noticed me slip quietly into a chair at the far end of the room. Other TechVision executives filtered in, along with board members rarely seen at the office. I recognized our chief financial officer, chief legal officer, and several senior vice presidents. Their excited chatter filled the room as they anticipated the company's biggest investment to date. At precisely 10 o'clock, Alan Blackwood arrived with his team from Stratosphere Ventures. Handshakes and introductions circulated, with Marcus playing the gracious host. I remained, seated, my heart pounding so loudly, I wondered if others could hear it. "Shall we proceed?" Stratosphere's lead attorney suggested after the pleasantries concluded. "We have the final agreements prepared for signatures." Everyone took their assigned seats around the massive conference table. Marcus sat at the head, flanked by Michael and our chief legal officer. Alan chose a seat midway down the table, occasionally glancing in my direction with subtle acknowledgement. "Before we distribute the documents," Marcus began, "I want to thank everyone who helped make this historic investment possible. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for TechVision." The lead attorney from Stratosphere, a distinguished older man named Jonathan Wells, opened his portfolio. "We've prepared the standard agreements as discussed. Signature pages are flagged for the required signatories." Marcus beamed. "Excellent. Let's get this done." Jonathan began distributing document packets to various executives. "We'll need signatures from the CEO, CFO, and board chairman, of course." Marcus reached for his pen. "I'm ready when you are." "One moment," Jonathan continued, consulting a checklist. "We also require signature from the primary architect listed on the TechBlazer Award submission. That's standard for technical innovation investments, ensuring the key technical talent is committed to the project post-funding." A flicker of confusion crossed Marcus's face. "That would be me as CEO and founder." Jonathan consulted his notes. "According to the TechBlazer documentation provided during due diligence, the primary technical architect is listed as," he adjusted his glasses, "Paige Turner." The room fell silent. Marcus turned to Michael with barely concealed panic, but Michael looked equally confused. "There must be some mistake," Marcus stammered. "As the visionary behind the adaptive security platform." I chose that moment to stand smoothing my blazer as I stepped forward. The eyes of everyone in the room turned toward me. "I have the original TechBlazer submission right here," I said, sliding my copy of the documentation across the table toward Jonathan. "Page 42 shows the required attribution section, listing me as primary technical architect." Jonathan examined the document, then looked up. "This matches our records. We'll need Miss Turner's signature on the technical continuity guarantee." Marcus's face flushed deep red. "Paige is a valuable team member, but there's been a misunderstanding about roles. As CEO, I can sign all necessary documents." Alan Blackwood cleared his throat. "Actually, Marcus, our investment terms are quite specific. We require commitment from the primary technical innovator as listed in official documentation. It's a material condition of the deal." The atmosphere in the room shifted palpably. Board members exchanged concerned glances. The chief legal officer leaned over to whisper urgently in Marcus's ear. Jonathan slid a document toward me. "Miss Turner, this is the technical continuity guarantee, confirming you'll remain with the company for at least 3 years, post-investment, to continue development of the security platform." I didn't reach for it immediately. "Before I sign, I think we need to clarify something important. There seems to be confusion about who actually created the adaptive allocation algorithm at the core of this technology." Marcus stood abruptly. "This is inappropriate, Paige. We can discuss personnel matters privately." "I disagree," I said, my voice stronger than I expected. "Stratosphere is investing over $500 million based partly on the innovative technology I developed. They deserve complete transparency." Alan nodded. "I believe Miss Turner has legitimate concerns that affect our investment decision. We should hear her out." With all eyes on me, I took a deep breath and pushed my folder of evidence to the center of the table. For the past year, I led the development of TechVision's security platform. The breakthrough adaptive allocation algorithm was my creation, documented in these development logs, email records, and code repositories. Andrew Park and Jessica Rodriguez, who worked with me on the project, can verify this. I turned to Marcus. You've systematically attempted to take credit for my work, removing my name from presentations, press materials, and patent applications. Last night I overheard you and Michael explicitly discussing how you've misrepresented my contributions. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Marcus's face contorted with rage. This is absurd. You're trying to sabotage a critical company transaction because of some perceived slight. Your job was to implement my conceptual framework, nothing more. Then explain this, I said, calmly displaying the original project assignment document he had given me. This shows you tasked me with developing a completely new approach to data security without any conceptual framework provided. And these development logs show every iteration came from my account, including the breakthrough at 4 a.m. when no one else was present. Michael attempted damage control. There seems to be a misunderstanding about contribution levels in any collaborative environment. Alan interrupted. I spoke extensively with Miss Turner at your company event. She explained technical details about the adaptive allocation algorithm that demonstrated intimate knowledge of its creation. When I asked similar questions of you, Marcus, you deferred or gave vague responses. Marcus's expression darkened further. You're taking the word of a disgruntled employee over the CEO. This is outrageous. Actually, Jonathan interjected, we're simply following the documentation trail. The TechBlazer submission which your company prepared clearly identifies Miss Turner as the primary technical architect. If that's incorrect, it raises serious concerns about the accuracy of other representations made during the investment process. The chief legal officer whispered urgently to Marcus again. I could see the realization dawning on his face that his position was unraveling. If he admitted the TechBlazer submission was incorrect, he risked the investment and potentially faced fraud allegations. If he acknowledged my role, he lost his claim as the visionary innovator. Perhaps Alan suggested, breaking the tense silence, we should pause the signing to clarify these issues. Stratosphere needs to ensure we're investing in a company with proper attribution and recognition of its technical assets. The implication was clear: the deal was in jeopardy. Marcus glared at me. You're destroying what we've built. 6 years, and this is how you repay the opportunities TechVision gave you. I met his gaze steadily. I'm simply ensuring that truth and integrity remain part of what we've built. The technology is revolutionary, the company is valuable, but innovation must be properly attributed. Alan stood. I suggest we adjourn for now. Stratosphere will need to reconsider certain aspects of the investment structure in light of this new information. As the Stratosphere team gathered their materials, Alan approached me. Miss Turner, would you be willing to meet privately with our technical team this afternoon? We'd like to better understand your role and vision for the technology going forward. I nodded. I'd be happy to. The implication couldn't have been clearer to everyone in the room. Stratosphere was considering restructuring the deal with me in a more prominent position. Marcus watched this exchange, his expression a mixture of fury and dawning fear. As the room emptied, leaving just TechVision personnel behind, Marcus approached me, his voice low and dangerous. You've made a serious mistake. The board won't tolerate this kind of sabotage. Before I could respond, Alan reappeared at the door. Miss Turner. A moment, please. I gathered my materials, acutely aware of the stares following me as I left the conference room. 6 years of dedication had culminated in this moment of truth. I had no idea what would happen next, but for the first time in months, I felt a profound sense of liberation. Whatever came next, I had stood up for myself and my work. The truth was finally out. 2 months after that fateful confrontation in the conference room, I stood at the window of my new corner office watching the San Francisco fog roll in over the bay. The nameplate on my door read Paige Turner, Chief Technology Officer, a title I still found somewhat surreal. The aftermath of the Halted investment signing had unfolded with breathtaking speed. Within 24 hours, Stratosphere Ventures had requested an emergency board meeting to discuss their concerns about TechVision's leadership. Alan Blackwood presented my evidence directly to the board, along with a restructured investment proposal. Stratosphere would increase their investment to $620 million, but only with significant leadership changes and proper attribution of intellectual contributions. Faced with potentially losing the company-defining investment and possible legal action for misrepresentation, the board acted decisively. Marcus was asked to resign. He departed with a generous severance package, but no ongoing role at the company he had founded. Michael followed him out the door within days, his position eliminated in the new organizational structure. The board appointed Alan as interim chairman while they searched for a new CEO. His first official action was to promote me to Chief Technology Officer, with full recognition as the principal architect of our security platform. Innovation without integrity is ultimately worthless. Alan had told me when offering the position. Stratosphere invests in both the technology and the people behind it. We believe in you, Paige. My first weeks as CTO had been a whirlwind of activity. I restructured the technical organization to ensure proper recognition for all contributors. Andrew Park became Director of Security Implementation, while Jessica Rodriguez took over as Head of Algorithm Development. Both had been instrumental in confirming my role during the subsequent investigation, standing firm despite the organizational chaos. One of my proudest moments came when I called Rachel, my early mentor, who had warned me to document everything. "You were right," I told her. "Thank you for looking out for me when I was too naive to see what was happening." Rachel had laughed. "I never expected such a dramatic resolution. Are you really the new CTO?" "I am. And I need a chief technology advisor. Someone with experience and integrity. Interested." She accepted the position the next day. The revised Stratosphere investment closed successfully under the new leadership structure. The press release prominently featured me as the inventor of the award-winning adaptive allocation algorithm, with a photo of me demonstrating the technology to industry analysts. Our first quarterly earnings call, after the restructuring, exceeded all expectations. Revenue had increased 63% year-over-year, with client acquisition rates doubling since the TechBlazer Award brought attention to our security platform. With proper attribution established, I had thrown myself back into development work, expanding the algorithm's capabilities into new domains. Not everything had been smooth, of course. Portions of the technical team loyal to Marcus had resigned in protest. Competitors had attempted to exploit the leadership transition, spreading rumors about company instability. But most employees seemed relieved by the increased transparency and meritocratic approach of the new management. I established new company policies, ensuring proper attribution for all technical contributions. Every patent application now required documented evidence of inventorship, and all major innovations were recognized with both financial bonuses and public acknowledgement. Using a portion of my new compensation package, I created a scholarship fund for women pursuing careers in cybersecurity, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds. The Adaptive Security Scholarship provided not just financial support but mentorship and guaranteed internships at TechVision. I also began speaking at universities about ethics in technology innovation, sharing my experience as a cautionary tale, while encouraging students to stand up for their contributions. The most valuable currency in your career isn't your salary, I would tell them. It's your reputation for integrity and innovation. Guard it fiercely, because others may try to appropriate it for their own gain. Reflecting on the journey now, I recognize that the experience had changed me profoundly. The naive, eager engineer who had joined TechVision 6 years earlier had been transformed by betrayal and vindication into someone more resilient, more vigilant, and ultimately more effective. There had been moments during the crisis when I considered simply resigning, finding another position, and starting fresh. The easier path would have been to walk away. But sometimes, standing your ground is necessary, not just for yourself, but for everyone who might face similar situations in the future. Success isn't measured by titles or compensation, though both are nice validation. True success comes from creating something meaningful and having your contribution recognized fairly. From building environments where others can do the same, from turning painful experiences into opportunities for positive change. The most surprising outcome had been my relationship with Alan. What began as a professional alliance during the crisis evolved into genuine friendship and mutual respect. He became a valuable mentor as I navigated the unfamiliar waters of executive leadership. You know what impressed me most, he told me during a recent strategy session. Not the algorithm itself, though it's brilliant. What impressed me was your integrity. You wanted recognition, not revenge. You sought to build rather than destroy, even when justifiably angry. That's the kind of leader worth investing in. Those words meant more to me than any award or promotion. After years of having my contributions minimized, having someone genuinely value, not just my technical skills, but my character felt like the true victory. When you know your true worth, no one can take that away from you. Sometimes the moment you find the courage to stand up for yourself is when you truly find your voice. The path forward isn't always clear, and standing for truth often feels lonely. But integrity eventually reveals itself like code that either works or fails when properly tested. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself when no one else would? Comment below with your experience. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences that might help you navigate your own challenging situations. Share this with someone who might need encouragement to speak their truth today. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that your work and your voice matter. The world needs your authentic contribution, so never let anyone diminish your light.